Hello and welcome to this week's YouTube video. When you sit down to paint a landscape, a still life, an animal painting, or even perhaps something figurative, what is your reason for painting it? In today's video, I will show you how this reason will shape the success or failure of your painting. I will be using my recent commission of Luna to help demonstrate what I mean. Often when I receive an animal commission, the customer will give me a number of photos and generally ask me which one I think will make the best painting. I received through 3 photos of Luna, but I am just going to show you the 2 best ones and explain why I selected the photo I did. This is the first photo I was sent of Luna and the client's favourite. I've edited out the background because she was sat in front of a patchwork quilt and I wasn't going to paint a multicoloured background. It would have detracted from the cat. The good thing about this photo was the sense that Luna is sat in the sun, as there are a few dapples across her coat, ear and on the fabric. Also, she looks incredibly content sat there, so it is strong in emotion too. Lastly, the way her whiskers curl around her body gives this cat a lot of personality. I am guessing those whiskers are one of her features. The bad thing about this photo is the positioning of her shape in that square. The position of that ear gives me this triangle of negative space that I found troubling and was making the symmetry off. With such a steep angle of the line of the ears, it really wants to start from this corner. The negative space is working against the angle of those ears. Let's have a look at the second photo. So what's good about this one? The composition issues of how the head is placed in that square have gone. It is a much nicer shape in that square. It is a much stronger composition. What is bad about this photo? I don't have the lovely sunny light that I had in image number 1. The camera also hasn't managed to capture any of Luna's emotion. Gone is the sense of contentment, and her gaze isn't on anything specific. It is not wistful. It is not making me wonder what she is looking at. I also don't get such a sense of her personality as I do in the first photo. Her whiskers aren't as prominent. So I have 2 photos, one strong in light and emotion but weaker in composition, and one stronger in composition but weaker in light and emotion. I will always go for the photo that has the better light and the stronger emotion because this is what I will be concentrating on painting. Also, the first photo of Luna is the harder one to paint because of the way all the shapes sit together in the square. It requires much more interpretation. So let's have a look at my painting process and the decisions I made to help me capture the light and Luna's personality. The colours I'm using are cadmium yellow light, yellow ochre light, transparent yellow oxide, cadmium red, alizarin crimson, transparent red oxide, ultramarine deep, titanium zinc white. I've also mixed up a black red, a purple and 2 oranges. This top line are my additional warm colours. On the bottom line, I have a green, black and a lighter green. These are my additional cooler colours. You'll notice that I don't have a black on my palette. I won't be using black at all for this painting. I'll be mixing my own. Looking at the reference photo, you'll notice that there isn't much colour in it. Black, white, green and an orange brown. So I need to find colour. Finding colour will give my painting much more depth and will help capture that sunny light. There are a number of ways that you can mix black. I am going to use my black red and my black green. Red is my warm colour, green is my cool colour. Mixing them together will give me my black. It will also allow me to use more red where Luna's fur is in the warmth of the sun and more green as the fur moves away from the light source into the cool of the shadows. I can also use it in a broken colour effect where I lay red next to green in blocks of colour. From a distance, these blocks will resolve and give the impression of black. You don't have to use the complementary colours of red and green to mix your black. You could use your blue and a brown like burnt umber and it will work just as well. I just happen to like this colour combination. When choosing some dark colours for mixing blacks, The idea is to use both a warm and a cool colour to simplify your ability to paint easily with temperatures. I would recommend using complementary colours, as you know this will always work as they look amazing together because they are colour opposites. I've painted Luna's black areas in 2 layers, just to give me a richer, darker black. But notice that I do not cover every part on the second layer. So for example, I have left the bottom area showing through in various parts to give subtle value changes to the black. You don't want your black to be all one value, so doing it in 2 layers is an easy way to get this effect. For those ears, I have used my black red and then mixed in some of this orange. I've then varied my value using my black, red and green mixed together to give me those really dark areas. For that little light spot on the ear, I've added quite a lot of orange to my black red, laid the paint and then wiped it off with a paper towel. The residue left gives me that sunny spot effect. It also gives me contrast between thicker and thin paint, which is much more interesting. Ideally, you don't want your paint the same thickness all over your painting. Vary it. It will make your painting look more interesting. For the background, I have mixed up a green using my lighter green and added some cadmium yellow light, quite a bit of white and this orange. Remember, green is a transitionary colour. It can be both warm if I add more yellow and cool if I add more blue. These darker areas carry more of the orange, and sometimes you can really see it as I've used a bit of a broken colour effect. Where I have gone lighter, I've added much more of my cadmium yellow to the mix, just to make it feel much more sunny. Notice how rough and vigorous my strokes are. Use a bigger brush and don't be afraid to really push that paint around. If you avoid using medium, the paint will be quite stiff, so you won't lose control of your painting. I've also tried to make this negative space area as interesting as I can by varying my temperatures between greens and oranges and slightly varying the values too. I think the addition of a few lighter strokes around the ear has done the trick to push that area into the background, so the shape is no longer problematic. Sometimes it's very simple things that can solve larger problems. The white area has now changed to a much more obvious orange, so I've switched to my green black. I have to say this green black is more blue than black, but I add the yellow just to give it a bit of warmth. I mix it with this orange and add white. Remember, blue and orange are complementary colours. This gives me a lovely cooler neutral to lay against my orange. I've added cadmium yellow to my orange to give me that colour under the chin, and as it gets a little cooler, I add a small amount of my black green. Don't ignore your edges. Make sure you vary them between sharper, more defined edges and broken, undefined edges that I have around the chest, and also lost edges that you see on her back. Make sure you have enough paint on your canvas to allow you to pull the edges into each other. That nose and mouth is a combination of that orange and also my alizarin crimson plus white, as the pink gets a little cooler in this area here. Lastly, let's talk about those whiskers. Whiskers can be a bit tricky when you have to paint them in. I did attempt scratching them in with the back of my paintbrush, but they weren't prominent enough, so they needed to be painted. Don't attempt to paint wet on wet when dealing with whiskers. Let the paint dry a little over a couple of days and then put them in. I use a Rosemary & Co. Ivory Rigger brush size 0 to do this. Have a look at your reference photo and half close your eyes. Notice how some areas of the whiskers are really white and you can still see them. Notice how some are a little darker. Therefore, I need to mix up a few colours of different values. I mix my 2 blacks together and then add lots of white and lots of medium. I want the paint really fluid. I never use white on its own. I will always darken it a little. As the whisker gets darker, I just add more of my black. So I have areas that are really light in value and areas that are darker. I always say err on the side of caution when painting whiskers. Don't overdo it because they will look fake and detract from your cat. Just suggest them. Looking at the final painting, I hope you'll agree that I have managed to capture Luna's contentment in that sunny spot. I hope you've enjoyed today's video and found it useful. Please like and subscribe if you can, and check out my website sarahhallidayart.com, where you will find examples of my work and also details of online classes that I run. Thank you for watching, and see you for the next one.